Welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name's Ebony and this is where I talk about all the spooky books that I like to read. Today I'm coming at you with a bit of a recommendation video. These are all some creepy books, horror, and a couple of thrillers that I literally see no one else talking about, and it's time we talk about them. These are some of my most underrated books that I have on my bookshelves that I would love other people to read, so I have people to talk to about them. So let's just get right on into talking about the books. All right, starting off strong. This is one of the smallest books I've ever owned. This is called Petrified Women by Jeremy Ray. I mean, look at it. It's literally like a pocket-sized book. It's absolutely tiny, and it can be so hard to find on my bookshelf. It's like... But I love this design, this artwork. Just stunning. And this is a whopping 90 pages. I got this one read in literally just a quick sitting. This, knowing the synopsis, which I'm about to tell you, you will not be able to predict where this goes. I really enjoyed how the author weaves in the action and built tension between these two characters. It's expertly done. I think this is such an unnerving and unique horror novella. It's a definition of a novella. This is following Harley and Aiden. Harley thinks she's got the most perfect boyfriend. She's found the man of her dreams. They have a bit of a funny love language. They love to do scare pranks on each other. They think this is a cool way to show each other they care. Anyway, he's always like outdoing her, but it's his birthday coming up and she's planned the perfect prank to get him back for all the times, and she's really excited. So she gets into his apartment while he's out. I think he's at the gym or something on the evening of his birthday, and she gets everything set up for the prank. So she goes and hides in his closet. She can see like through a sliver of space between the doors, and she's waiting, and she hears him come home, but he hasn't come home alone. And thus begins a really terrifying, nail-biting sequence of events. And in her little spot in his closet, so much of the story takes place. And so there's this real sense of claustrophobia and tension as the reader when you're watching it through her eyes, through that tiny gap in the closet doors of what's happening in his bedroom. And that adds another layer of horror onto this story. And she begins to question if like the man she's grown to love has a darker side than she had initially thought. There's not a lot of character development, but you can't do much in 90 pages, and yet you are on her side, of course, especially after you experience some of that stuff through her eyes. And I really can't say much about it. It's so short, you should pick it up. But the sculptures that Aiden creates, and he's a wood sculptor, and he has these sculptures in his apartment, and there's a point in it where it's giving like Doctor Who, kind of weeping angel vibes, and I don't know why it gave that to me. I remember it really vividly having that feeling, that kind of episode, you know, Blink, that episode. I don't know, something about it gave me that, and I was loving it. I needed it, and it packs one hell of a punch, this tiny little book, and no one talks about it, so you should go read it. Another novella that I see no one mentioning, and I don't know if it's because the cover might get it taken down, but I'm going to share it anyway because I actually quite the cover. But hey, it is quite in your face. You know what you're getting, okay? So you've been warned. It is Scanlines by Todd Kiesling. I mean, it is what it is, hey? Okay, and it's another really short novella. This is 113 pages. You could smash that out. I started it on like a Friday morning and I had to take it with me to work, read it in my breaks when I could, and I finished it so quickly by 10:30 that morning. It has it all for me. It has cursed footage, urban legends, 90s nostalgia, teenagers being dumb. Sign me up. We're following, I think, 3 friends, and it's a Friday night, right? 3 boys. They're in a basement of one of their parents' house, and they want to download some saucy imagery on their 90s computer, which will take hours. The rabbit hole they end up going down is much darker and grisly. They think they've clicked on like a nice sexy thing. What gets downloaded to the computer begins this haunting of these teenagers. The urban legend is that this follows is about this congressman who committed suicide on live television. He shot himself. It was reported he did it because of political corruption accusations, and that footage has been wiped. No one has it. You cannot find it anywhere. But then it's found. People have gone and they found it, and that's what gets downloaded. But it's said that once you view this, then you spiral into madness. And that's exactly what happens with our three friends. I really enjoy the dynamic between the three friends, especially as the story progresses. Like in 100-ish pages, it really develops nicely. And it also serves as kind of a confessional for our main character when he's older, looking back on the events at that time and trying to deal with his guilt or shame or whatever it is, you know, and like, so we know there's something coming because we're also getting these glimpses into the future about the past, if that makes sense. There are some handwritten chapters in this as well, which kind of help that sense of impending doom, like because they kind of get a little bit more scattered. I highly recommend reading the afterword of this. It kind of spun it and gave it a new meaning and gave me goosebumps. I really enjoyed that. And honestly, I summarize this book as kind of this boldly unique coming of age story. In its grim and grisly, violent, pacey sort of way. That's really what it is. And yeah, you're gonna have a good time. If that sounds like your kind of thing, then I would pick this up for sure. Urban legends and cursed footage. So yeah, it had it all for me. Up next is I Remember You. This is the definition of a chiller. Isolated Icelandic town. We have three friends who are in this remote island area and they're renovating a house. And they think they're alone there, and they soon discover they're not. And so we have this really harrowing, pulsating ghost story happening and hauntings happening at this rundown house that's being renovated. And then on the flip side, on the mainland, we have a police investigation at the core of it as well. And this guy whose son has disappeared and he's seeking answers. And the way this plot is written and the way the two stories weave together is seamless. Like, it is perfection. I thoroughly enjoy this writing style. It's very atmospheric. It's beautiful prose. I think these translated novels are, especially Icelandic horror and thrillers, they're some of my favorite. And this one's one of my top tier. Especially if you love a ghost story, if you love ghost stories that are intertwined with a crime police procedural, like this has it all. And I remember kind of catching on to a few little twists early on, but then the finale and the way it all came together, like I could not have seen coming, and it was so perfect. Yeah, the way it all collides is just terrifying. There are definitely some chilling moments in this that will have you switching on the lights. I did not heed the warnings about not reading this alone at night because I was like, oh, how about going to be? And I was like, but I couldn't stop reading it because like each chapter kind of ends on a bit of a cliffhanger, which is a great way to just get you to keep reading. So you want answers, and it flips between the two storylines of the mainland and then the isolated house that's being renovated. She mastered that dilapidated, rundown house that is haunted, and we want answers to that. The way this house came alive in the story too is just terrifying, and I love that. But it's done in a way that not many haunted house stories are, and it's also done so it's not the main feature of it. It's still the people at the core of it, and this friendship group as well is quite interesting. There's some fascinating little dynamics happening and reveals and connections and all sorts of stuff going on. And then yes, the kind of core police drama and kids going missing on the mainland. That's all I'm going to say about this. This is chilling, and the setting befits the story. When an Icelandic horror novel lands, it lands so well that the setting becomes a character in and of itself. And that's exactly what happened for me in this book. Okay, so you might have heard me talk about this next one on my top reads of 2025, but I'm still going to talk about it again because I am going to be an advocate for this book probably for as long as I live, because it is a self-published book. It is one I just came across on the depths of Amazon one night, trawling the internet for a very specific kind of horror novel, and boy did I fucking find it. Like, this is so unique and so disturbing and so fucking scary. I'm so excited just to talk about it, so that's why I thought I'd put it back in, and that is Fulcrum by Jason Allen Patterson. Again, let's just take a moment. The fuck? So creepy. It is definitely underrated. It is like, literally,
I'm the only person talking about it.
So I don't know how to summarize this. It is a complicated little book, but basically there's this strip mall on this stretch of highway. It's neglected, this property. It's run down. All the doors got bolted shut. For over a year, no one has set up business on this strip mall. One night, I think his name's Ed, one of our main characters. He isn't from this part of town. He's coming back from work. He's in a shitty mood. He's quite a dickhead, this guy. But he sees the lights on this pizza parlor, and he doesn't know anything about the stories. He doesn't know that this is an abandoned strip mall. But hey, the lights are on. It's very inviting. And he goes to this pizza parlor, and he has no idea that the guy who's taken his order has been dead for a year. I don't want to say anything more. I love urban explorers, for example. I love going down and deep diving into their videos. And my favorite ones are abandoned malls in America, strip malls, all of it. Like I don't know why I really enjoy that. And I was searching for a horror book that gave me that similar feeling. And this one was like tenfold. It gave it to me in spades. This was creepier than I could have imagined. And it was more than I bargained for, but in the best possible way. He orders that pizza and he has this really strange exchange with the guy at the pizza parlor. And he goes, fine, just deliver it then. Here you go, whatever. And then when it gets delivered to his house later, he has another very odd encounter with the delivery kid who looks about 17, 18 years old. And he soon finds out, like the next day, when he's talking to his nephew about it, he goes like, yeah, I had this really strange thing from this specific pizza place. And his nephew and his friend were like, what the hell? Like, you're pulling our legs, eh? Because that place has been shut down. Like, didn't you hear that the owner killed himself because his kid died one night delivering pizzas? Ed's going, oh,
fuck me.
Did his dead son just give me my pizza?
And it's dense. Like, this is a commitment. 230 pages. And it's got one of the most unique chapters I've ever read. I think, from memory, it was like a 200-page chapter. So if you love short chapters, this one's not for you. Not for you, babes. It sucks you in. And it's so interesting because it's like, it's so purposefully done and it keeps you reading. It really does. And this specific chapter is almost, because it's like 200 pages, but it's also like, it's almost like part 2 of the story. It's giving you backstory and it's giving you the whole thing back a year ago and what led up to the demise of this business. Oh, I don't even know how to talk about it. It's multi-layered. I need someone else to read it. So can one of you please read this? And I hope you love it. If you don't love it, please don't come to me. Don't blame me. It's also like sad, I don't know. It's disturbing. There's a lot of shit that goes on in this novel that will have you like, but if you are someone who has a fascination with abandoned places, abandoned malls, abandoned shopping centers, and the thought of like being haunted by one or turning up to one and not knowing, and then trying to figure out the story of how did I see lights on at this shop when it's abandoned? Like he goes back the next day and it's like shut up and he's like, oh my God, it's obvious no one's been in here. Like windows smashed, everything's like locked up. So it's like, that is a really spooky feeling and thought, and the way it culminates into a really satisfying conclusion. It's full on, like you want to be in the right headspace and you want to be really invested and can't really zone out while reading it. It took me a few weeks to read because you really have to be paying attention to each page. There's lots of facets into this story, but I thoroughly recommend, and I really want more people to read it because it gives the best spooky vibes. Now, some Aussie horror is The Graveyard Shift by Maria Lewis, another one that no one talks about. There is another book called The Graveyard Shift, and unfortunately, every time I hear people talking about that, I hope that it's this one because this one should be spoken about more. I gave this 4.5 stars back when I read it a couple of years ago. It's following a radio host. Her name's Tinsel Monroe, great name. And she does the overnight, the 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. shifts at her radio station. And for Halloween, she has curated a themed show. So she is going to be showcasing like the best of horror films, soundtracks and scores. And so she's doing her show, she's doing her thing, she's really good at it, and she opens up the phone lines, but she wants to give away tickets to a Melbourne premiere of a horror film. So she's opened up the lines, you know? And the girl who she's speaking to, is going to win, has to answer a question or something. The girl she's speaking to is being stalked and gets murdered live on air. And then Tinsel's world rapidly changes. This is so stress-inducing. Such a cool concept, and it was so deftly executed. I loved Maria Lewis's writing style. It's so unabashed, and it's not trying to be anything, or it was just so itself. And she just has a really unique voice in horror, I think, and I just really remember connecting to it. I thought the actual storyline, it's edgy seed stuff. It's got that thrilling element, a bit of like crime, but it's horror still. And there are some, like, I loved all the movie and music references. Like, they felt really niche, but some of them, like, I was like, oh my God, this isn't new just for me. And there was one particular scene that was so scary, and it was backstage at a theater. And that already is scary enough. When you're backstage at a theater and lights have turned off and everyone's gone home for the night, it's a spooky environment, let alone if there's someone fucking after you or someone's trying to kill you. That's fucking scary. I remember liking that Tinsel and her sister, they were written to complement each other and support each other. Like, so often in horror and slashers, women are kind of written to be pitted against each other until like a male hero comes into play. And I loved that Maria Lewis didn't do that. She didn't give in to those sort of stereotypes, and she let the women be strong and still maternal, and like there was so it kind of like any woman could read this and kind of find themselves within the characters, and I thought that was really well done. Finale of the story was good too. There wasn't any like big twist or anything, but it built up to a really satisfying conclusion. Like you're not gonna feel unsatisfied when you finish this book. It all made sense, and like you don't need a twist. Everything now is twist, twist, twist. But for me, I was like, this was exactly what I hoped it would be. It ended really strongly. Times that again, it was like, oh, I need the lights on to read this. I don't want to be home alone while I read this one. But like I said, I just enjoyed that it was a unique plot. And like, yeah, the radio host thing and like the horror theme, the Halloween night and someone dying live on air, like being murdered. And you can't cut that out because it's live. Like, so good. And set in Australia. Couple more to talk about. Another one like Fulcrum that literally nobody talks about, and it is The 22 Murders of Madison May by Max Barry. A cover I really love too. This book, it's like part horror, part crime, part sci-fi and psychological thriller. Like it's got a little bit of every element that I love without feeling convoluted and like it doesn't know what it's trying to be. It does, like it's really well done. It starts right in the action. You don't have to wait for anything. It's gonna throw you right in. So we begin following Madison May, who is a young real estate agent, and she is at an open house. And it kind of takes a turn with this guy. He suddenly starts professing his love to her, and he can't stop. He's obsessed with her, and he professes his love right before he murders her. And then we have a journalist who she hates reporting on murders, but she feels connected to this particular, like the murder of Madison May at this open house. The suspect's in the wind, there's no leads, there's nothing, but she feels compelled to follow this story and find answers. And no one knows where the fuck this guy went. Like there's no record of him or something. Like the real estate agent's like, man, I don't know. And then she spots him on the subway on her way home that day. And she goes to follow him. She goes in pursuit of the guy. He disappears, whatever. But then she feels like her world has shifted. Felicity, that's the journalist's name. Felicity kind of feels like her world's shifted slightly because the next day she goes to work talking about the case and no one remembers Madison May. There's no record of a Madison May being murdered. There's nothing. She wasn't even a real estate agent. Oh, and one of Felicity's cats has disappeared. Like, something's going wrong in the universe, all because of what happened at that open house that day. And what she realizes, in her pursuit to find answers and find Madison's killer, she's followed him into a different dimension. Like I said, sci-fi, you've got a bit of that going on, but it works. Like it might sound, I don't know if that came across cheesy or anything, but even if it was, like it works. This one, it just really gets you questioning how far a stalker or killer might go. It is creepy and disturbing, but it is a fascinating through line in this novel. I thought for a book that's only like 300 pages, the plot that's quite complicated, the plot and the characters are brilliantly fleshed out, and you really feel like you're right there in each world, in the shoes of Felicity or Maddie or whichever one you're connected to at that time. One of my favorite aspects of this particular novel is how the dimension hopping is done. It's so seamless. that you kind of don't see it happening, and that makes it like, it kind of gives you like chills, especially that first time it happens. Like, it's such minor details that change, which kind of makes it more believable in what is essentially just like a crime novel. Like, and so I think that's why it works, is because Max Barry has made it somehow natural, the change of dimensions that goes on. And I really enjoyed that. I loved that you kind of like don't know when it's happened, until it's like kind of laid out for you and you're like, what the fuck, how are we here? It also just like begs the question and kind of connects to that human element of wondering what we could have been if we had in our past lives, or if we had another, like if we had a clone of ourselves, all the different things we could do. And like, if you want to be that thing, or you want to do that job, or you want to chase this dream, and that like we get so bogged down with thinking we have to be one thing in our life, that really we could be all of them. And that was kind of the message I got from it as well. Maddie was different every world because she had different dreams, and she was a multifaceted person, and she wanted to be so many things. And it's almost like, I don't know, thinking on it in retrospect, I go like, that's a really profound message. And I don't know if that's just what I got out of it. There was like, actually, we can be all those things in our one lifetime, you know?
Oh, we getting fucking deep, pals.
It is action-packed and it's pacey and you get thrown right into the action, so I highly recommend you pick up this one. And the lucky last underrated novel that I'm going to talk to you about today is called There Should Have Been 8. So this is following a group of friends. They met as teenagers, they're adults now, and they've come back together because they want to reminisce on their friend B, who they lost several years ago. And they reunite on B's old family estate, which used to be this like glorious Gothic mansion. So you're already getting like a fantastic setting. And it's kind of old and run down, and then they get snowed in. It's a blizzard. Like the walls are closing in and it's giving way to like the pretense of normality and all of that. And underneath it all is like this nagging sensation that maybe B's death wasn't all that it seemed, and that before the weekend's out, someone's going to confess, because there's 7 friends here and there should have been 8. It's kind of got like that classic locked room mystery vibes, blizzard, snowy, cold. The action is like jammed packed. It's full to the brim with stuff to keep you on the edge of your seat. There are quite a few mysteries rolled into the story that all become clearer and clearer as it goes on, but you won't predict how this ends. At least I didn't. Like, and it wasn't left to feel like, it didn't just fucking come out of nowhere, thank goodness, but it made sense. And I love that I still didn't see it coming. Like, as a thriller reader, those are the best kinds, where it's like it still makes sense, but you were so engrossed in that and living it page by page that, yeah, you didn't predict where it was going. The actual friends, there are some real shitty characters in a good way. Like, you love to hate them. There are some satisfying deaths. There are some things that happen in this house. It is a very scary house. And there are secrets behind the walls. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot going on. And it's got a lot of the classic thriller tropes that we all love rolled into one book. It doesn't feel like it's doing too much. It doesn't feel like it's copying any other voice. I just really remember thinking like the house became another character in this, and such a looming presence within the narrative. And it adds that extra layer of weight to the situation. And there are so many questions you'll have when you're reading this, and everything gets answered so well. And like I said, if you're someone who loves a thriller and you love a twist, but you love a twist that makes sense, then this is for you. And yeah, all you need is like the isolated setting, the old friends with million secrets that none of it, like each other don't know, that are all going to come out because they're locked in one place, a friend who has died within that group, that's something suspicious about that as well. And so, like I said, there's so much going on. And this is my favorite thing. 7 friends, one last weekend, no room for lies. Someone is going to confess because there should have been 8. And that's all you really need to know. Like, I don't think you should really go into this like deep diving into the plot beforehand. It is about 400 pages, but I flew through it. This is a great one if you've got a weekend free, especially if you're somewhere in the world that is lucky enough to be cold still. I would read it now or save it for later in the year when it does get cold again, because it is such a like winter chiller. Those are just a few of my recommendations of underrated thriller and horror books that I don't see anyone talking about, that I will continue to talk about because we should be. And I'd love to know if you've actually read any of these books, because like I said, I've not spoken to anyone who has. And if you haven't yet, then I recommend picking at least one of them off this list to read this year. And I think this list is pretty mixed. Like, there's lots of different subgenres within the genres. So there's something for everyone, I hope. In this list of recommendations, these were all 4.5 to 5-star novels for me. So like I said, no pressure if you do read them, but either way, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you'd like to stick around for more, then please make sure you subscribe, like, comment, whatever you feel like you would like to do, then I appreciate. And I will see you in my next video. Bye!